Hey everybody, what's up? Chad Wesley Smith here, another episode of Beers with Chad. Today I am joined by Cleveland Browns fullback Johnny Stanton. Had the pleasure of knowing Johnny since he was in high school, and now getting to work with him in the offseason as he prepares for this upcoming NFL season, whenever that may begin. We are drinking a Sierra Nevada Hazy Little Thing IPA. Cheers. And we talk about Johnny's career from All-American high school quarterback, heading to Nebraska, bouncing back to junior college to UNLV, his kind of change of position, rocky road into the NFL, some challenges that he's faced with injuries and all that good stuff. So check it out. Enjoy the episode. Visit jtsstrength.com for online coaching, books, Juggernaut apparel, like the Grateful Tee. You can use JTS10 for 10% off any order from Virus, JUGGLIFE for 20% off your first order from Roan, or CWS to save on the RP Diet app. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Welcome to Beers with Chad. All right, here we are, Beers with Chad. I'm joined today by Cleveland Browns fullback Johnny Stanton. Drinking Sierra Nevada Hazy Little Thing IPA.
Thank you, Nick.
Cheers, cheers.
Cheers. A little bit of that and beer.
The good post workout beer there.
Nothing wrong with that.
So when did you graduate high school? 2011.
13.
13. So I probably met you in 2011.
Yeah.
Max's senior year. So to give people some context, you played at Santa Margarita High School.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were the California State Champions. Your
Division 1, yeah. There's another division above it, but yeah.
Your junior year, and then preseason #1 in the country.
Yep. Your
senior year. And I didn't get to work with you as you got ready for college, but as you were rehabbing ACL, but I think I trained eight other players from your team, so you had 9 D1 kids on your senior year. So the high school O-line was 6'4", 305, something like that?
Yeah, the classic picture is our first game we played in Arizona on ESPN. I think they do that way more than they used to. I think we were one of the first years that they were doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the, you go back home after the game, you watch it, especially because we won. You watch it again on DVR, and we're watching like the little graphic on the screens that has like the top 5 teams in the country, like it's USC, Florida, Alabama, whatever, whoever else in the top 5, and they did the average height and weight of the O-line, and I think we ended up being like 3rd out of the top 5. And that's not necessarily the biggest 5 O-lines in the college football. It's the top 5 in the country. Obviously, big O-linemen. So
just this, massive team, massively successful team, led by Mr. All-American. That's what I used to call you, at least.
I appreciate it.
Mr. All-American.
Oh, they're going to say you got Max.
Mr. All-American Johnny Stanton. And so, I never had the opportunity. I got recruited for track, but, there's not a lot of glamour that comes along with that. What is it like kind of being this big deal quarterback getting recruited out of high school? Well,
I never really felt like I was. I always felt like I was behind the ball with all the other quarterbacks in the country. I don't know anything about recruiting nowadays, but when I was in it, I felt like I was maybe the 2nd and 3rd choices for every school. But I did end up with a couple of offers. I think I narrowed it down, my top 5 being Nebraska, Oregon, and Wisconsin coming out of high school. I ended up choosing Nebraska. But the only reason I got those offers was because I actually flew to those places and did camps.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't based off of film or anything like that.
So, and let's not downplay that. I mean, you threw for like 3,500 yards and rushed for 1,500 your junior year or something like that?
It's funny that this happens today because my Dane Crane, my high school center, he's doing all this research on our high school stuff. Like, he's getting really into it with the quarantine happening right now. And he just texted me this morning. I think he said my junior year, including the playoffs, and we played 15 games that year, which is just insane to me thinking about it now. Junior year, I threw for 12 touchdowns and ran for 25. So I was way more of a runner junior year.
Tebow-esque.
Tebow was a much better passer than me junior. I definitely had to come into my confidence and learn how to throw again my junior.
Well, and that's, you had to be right about the same time that Tebow was doing it big for the Broncos.
Yeah.
His one good year.
No.
So you get a giant, muscular, white running quarterback, and the comparisons.
Yeah. I heard a lot of Johnny Tebow.
Yeah. So Nebraska, when I grew up, when I was a kid, Nebraska was a power. I remember playing NCAA Game Breaker '95.
Wow.
Yeah. on my regular PlayStation, and using, it doesn't say their names, but it was Tommy Frazier at quarterback, Lawrence Phillips at running back. They're coming off national championship, beating Florida. I think like Danny Werfel, Steve Spurrier, Florida team. Is Tommy Frazier someone that you were aware of?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, going to Nebraska, you definitely learn the history of it. One of the first things they do on their recruiting visits is bring you into the Heisman room, where there's this big production. Well, what's cool about Nebraska, and I'm sure it's a lot of different schools around the country, is that their facility is right inside the stadium, like it's part of the structure. So when they take you into the facility, the first thing they do is bring you to the Heisman room, and they have 3 Heisman Trophy winners. And you go into this big presentation where it's audio visual kind of thing. You probably fit like 10, 15 people in the room.
Is that Mike Rozier, Tommy Frazier, and Eric Crouch?
No. Oh yeah, Crouch. I don't think.
Yeah, Eric Crouch.
Yes, I don't think Tommy Frazier won. I could be totally wrong about this.
He should have.
Yes, it was a receiver, Johnny something. I forget. I'm forgetting what his name is.
Johnny Flynn.
Oh, gosh, I wish I could remember. It's been a few. I left there in 2015. It's been 5 years now. Yeah.
So you mentioned leaving there in 2015. You came back to junior college here, and then eventually ended up at UNLV with they go by just the Rebels or the Running Rebels?
The basketball team is the Running Rebels from the 90s. Yeah. The football team. Everybody else is just really the Rebels. Around the country, they kind of know them as the Running Rebels.
Yeah. So, to go from this kind of high state champion, #1 team in the country, to having to come back to junior college, down the street from where you grew up.
Same stadium we played in.
Yeah. And then ending up at a smaller school. What are some lessons you took away from that, or if kids right now are dealing with this similar situation in college?
Yeah. Well, man, the transferring stuff happens way more now than it ever has. When going from D1, like a school like Nebraska, to junior college, guys go through it every year, but it really is, a humility check. It's a, really having to reevaluate how much you love football. And that year I really realized how much I do love football. I finally get to play again, which was one thing. It definitely, inspired me to really work even harder, but it also, not only did I get to play again, but I got to play at a high level again. I wasn't, in practice. I tore my ACL in high school. Those 2 years in Nebraska, I never really got the chance to really go full speed in terms of really getting confident with it. So after 2 games at junior college, when I was kind of iffy on am I the player I used to be, my 3rd game I really started to pick it up, and the rest of the season felt like natural again. So that's when I really kind of fell in love with football. But yeah, it absolutely is. You gain your humility again. You definitely get humbled, and I think it would have been way better. It was way better for me going from Nebraska to junior college and then up to UNLV rather than from Nebraska to UNLV, because UNLV is Mountain West. They don't get the same kind of money that the Big Ten does, and I think I really knew my place and my work ethic when I got to UNLV. Rather than, not that I didn't work hard in Nebraska, I did, but it was just a different kind of feeling.
Yeah, I've trained a lot of the JUCO guys from Saddleback and OCC, and it's such a interesting dynamic there, because you have bounce backs from big schools. You have guys from out of state,
a lot of guys from out of state,
who should probably be these huge recruits but don't have the grades. You've got guys who were the stars of kind of smaller high school programs, and compared to a D1 program, or even compared to a big high school program like you came from, no one gives a shit what you do. No one's gonna hold it. No one's gonna say, you've got to be here at this time.
Yeah.
Like, so much of it is truly voluntary.
Yeah.
And
it really does come down to the players.
Yeah, I think it really separates like who's there because they want to be there and they want to work, versus who's just kind of there to fuck around. So you mentioned the torn ACL, and then some more injuries at UNLV.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I tore my knee, got the other knee, partial, didn't need surgery or anything like that, but it kept me out there for the rest of the season of my redshirt junior year.
Now, most of my audience, powerlifters, weightlifters, we deal with injuries like, and the hardest part, or just as hard, is probably the mental part of dealing with injuries. And you mentioned, not feeling like you were quite the same player, and the trust in your body and stuff. How do you approach that?
I really think it's just throwing yourself into it. If I spent 4 years in Nebraska as a backup and never really got the game time, and thought that I was going full speed at practice, you never really go with the same kind of speed. I think I wouldn't be where I am today in terms of like my physical like readiness to be able to play. I would not be anywhere near it as if I was able to play at junior college and was able to get that full season of reps and be able to get used to game speed again. It's really about getting used to game speed again. So that's the toughest part is, learning how to really turn it up to that next level.
So you had 3 years at UNLV.
2 years.
2 years at UNLV, and 2 years at Subway, and then
once a season. That's like one semester. Yeah.
And then as you begin to make the transition to professional football, talk about that and changing positions, all that.
So as you said, I was a quarterback, high school, played quarterback in college. When I did get hurt, I obviously lost my starting job. And my senior year, I was really fighting hard to be able to get it again. They ended up giving it to Armani Rogers, the freshman quarterback, who, amazing athlete, really good guy. But I kind of had to start reevaluating, like, am I going to be quarterback from now on? Am I going to try to switch positions? Am I going to play football in the future? Which obviously is the goal. That's the number one goal. So I started asking if I could play some special teams. I had some success on special teams. The linebacker coach recruited me onto the linebacker group. 2 games there, Armani gets hurt. I go back to quarterback for a couple games. And then the season's over like that. I think that like my football career is over. I think that like if anything, maybe I'm playing in Europe or something. If I can't figure out anything else to do. I end up getting a phone call from the CFL saying like, hey, we'd love for you to like at least work out at pro day at quarterback. And then I started thinking, okay, if I'm going to do quarterback, I might as well, give myself the best chance if I'm going to be in front of some NFL scouts. So I started training at tight end. Running routes, lifting, staying in shape, everything like that. Working with
just for context, so you're 6'3", 250?
6'2", 250. Yeah.
6'2", 250.
Yeah.
So, and you were 250 when you were playing quarterback?
Yeah.
So not the typical quarterback build.
No, I was able to gain some muscle in college and kind of bulked up a little bit. So then once I decided that I'm going to start training again, I'm still in Vegas. I still need to finish school. So I can't come out here and train with you. But I training in Vegas, we got Mark Philippi, who is awesome coach in himself. Yeah.
That was when you told me Mark Philippi. That was the one coach that I pride myself on being the strongest strength coach, or at least I was the strongest. And then I was like, oh shit, Mark Philippi, that might be the one guy who can
he's the
run for my money.
Badass. So he starts training me over in Vegas. Obviously, he has a great, repertoire of guys he's trained, guys he thinks he's done. He's able to get me so much stronger, a lot faster, cut my weight down a little bit, and I have a pretty good pro day performance, both at quarterback, tight end. Linebacker coach asked me if I want to play some linebacker, and then I decided that I wanted a long snap too, just to it's a little skill that I can pick up.
Like Taysom Hill, eat your heart out.
Right.
Yeah.
I get a phone call. Actually, no. I do the CFL tryout, which was in Tampa Bay, Florida. While I'm there, I get a phone call from the Vikings that I'm invited to their minicamp. Now, when you're invited to minicamp, that doesn't mean you're signed. That means you're allowed to try out for the team. And there are you're up against 40 other guys.
Yeah. And there are, even this last year, I found out how many different stages of, practice squad, futures contracts. It's
complicated. I'm just learning the surface level things just now. Yeah, so I get the chance to try out for the team at tight end. Like I said, I'm up against like 40 guys, and there's no guarantee that anybody makes the team. It's just
like 40 tight ends.
No. 40 guys across the roster: defensive guy, defensive back, quarterbacks, all that. Yeah. But this is just to see if they like one of the tryout guys more than one of the guys that they signed. I ended up putting an okay performance, but it's pretty obvious that I've never played tight end before. Trying to go up against a 3rd round draft pick defensive end when I'm trying to run block and I've never done it before, it's not going to show up all that well. But I was able to show up enough athleticism for the team to want me at fullback. They signed a fullback that they didn't want, so they decided to sign me. So that's when I got my start at fullback. And then I had a lot of learning to do because, there's a lot to learn. It's it's not an easy position to learn.
And you had never even really played in an offense, maybe minus Nebraska, that even uses a real fullback, right?
Yeah, at Nebraska, at UNLV we did a little bit. Mark Phillippe's son, Mark, was our fullback at UNLV, and I gave him his only touchdown pass. Shout out, Mark. That's didn't really have a whole lot of experience with the fullback, but I got to learning really quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure coming from the quarterback background, you have to just have such a greater understanding of offensive systems as a whole. It must help to.
Yeah, and I run at 6'2", 250. I wasn't running around anybody.
Yeah.
I was trying to run through guys if I could, and so that at least lent itself a little bit to learning fullback.
So the Vikings happen. They sign you. Your practice squad with the Vikings, yes.
I was with them all off season. There's no practice squad until the season starts, and actually week 2 of the preseason, I ended up breaking my ankle. So I spent all of that
season.
No, 2018.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah. So in August of 2018, I break my ankle against the Jaguars, and the week before that, I got to play against River for the first time ever playing against River. But that was in our first preseason game. That was a cool experience up in Denver. The next week I break my ankle. I think that crap, my NFL career is done. The team says they want to keep me on injured reserve, and I get to recover for the rest of the year while basically being a fan from home. Beginning of 2019, I get cut, and pretty much all of last year I was looking for a team to be on. It looked like it was going to be XFL for a while, ended up in the XFL draft, and the Vikings decided that they want to sign me again to the practice squad. So that's when the practice squad happened for just 2 weeks in last December.
And then Kevin Stefanski, the Vikings offense coordinator, gets the head coaching job in Cleveland, and you get the call and become a Cleveland Brown.
With a little XFL mixed in there too.
Yeah.
I was an XFL. I was an LA Wildcat for a couple weeks in Houston for most of January, and then near the end of January, I ended up getting cut from the team. Just fullback stuff. It was they decided to go a different direction. The Browns called me a couple days before I got cut. So right when I got cut, I'm like, I gotta call them back. I called up my agent. We gotta get on the phone with them. Like 2 days later, I'm in Cleveland, and they let me know that I'm signed.
Yeah, and that's got to be an exciting thing that Stefanski had seen you, sees the place for you there in Cleveland. So I think a lot of people, when they think about the NFL, they think about stars of the NFL. Those 10, 20, maybe 50 guys who they're making a couple $1 million and this and that, but the majority of the NFL are guys who undrafted, practice squad, bounce around a couple of teams. I know I've told you about my friend Jed Collins that I played some all-star stuff with in high school, and he had a similar situation to you of changing positions a bunch of times, and then I think he was on 5 different practice squads over the course of 2 years before catching on and having a career with the Saints and then the Bears. But that's the majority of the NFL are these grinders trying to make the team, trying to find their spot. What has been maybe the biggest surprise of your experience with the NFL so far?
I don't know. It's tough to say. A lot of it is what I expected, but a lot of it wasn't. In terms of the players, athletes, I think really having the majority of my football college career being in the Mountain West, when you see guys, D linemen who are 6'6", 330 pounds. It's like, that's the biggest person I've ever seen in my life.
That was, you know...
Specifically thinking about Linval Joseph. Like, he's just a large person.
That is like 6'9", right?
He's crazy.
That when we were at the Combine this year, that's like what struck me the most is seeing coaches who are former players. Like I met Leroy Glover. Okay. And, you know, 10-time Pro Bowler. And he's been out of the league for 10 years probably. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, you know, he's probably 6'4", 345. And I've weighed 375 pounds before. And I'm looking at him like, you weigh like 345 or 350. How the fuck was I 25 pounds heavier than you? Because his shoulders, like relative to mine, were like here. Yeah. His hands were this big. Like, yeah, there's massive framed freak athletes.
Yeah, no, it's you know, it's the cream of the crop for sure when you get up to that level.
So who has been the most impressive athlete, especially like as you see guys in the weight room and stuff, whether college, NFL?
You get limited in terms of who you get to interact with in the off season. Spring and summer, when you're a rookie, you're pretty much hanging around rookies, especially offensive rookies. But in terms of, you know, my only experiences with the Vikings in terms of being around the team. I haven't been able to be around the Browns yet, which I'm extremely excited to. I guess the guy who stood out the most in terms of athleticism, strength, just all of the above, Danielle Hunter is just a freak. That's what I was expecting.
He's
an absolute freak.
Yeah. Danielle Hunter, I could have seen Everson Griffin as being a good possibility.
Yeah.
And then what about Mark Phillippe Jr.? He had to be weight room monster.
He's definitely a monster. You know, and I think in college you get a lot more weight room monsters because college strength coaches are all about, you know, excitement in the weight room, getting guys pumped up, getting guys really, really strong. In the NFL, you kind of leave that in college in terms of the coaches.
Yeah, I think it probably varies pretty widely team to team, but definitely a lot more maintenance.
A lot more maintenance, a lot more longevity.
A lot more guys who are 5, 10, whatever years in the league and make 50 times as much as the strength coach and are like, how about you go fuck off and I'm going to do whatever I want because...
the experience of a college weight room versus a pro weight room is a lot different.
Yeah. I know that you are involved with a couple charities. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, the Jesse Reese Foundation, probably better known as NEGU, works with children fighting cancer. Not necessarily in the funding or the research area things, just really more about the care. They're actually located in Irvine, just 15-minute drive from us. They started off with Jesse Reese, the Reese family. Jessie actually just had her 21st birthday. She's up in heaven now, but she just had her 21st birthday a couple days ago. She passed away, I think it was 8-9 years ago now. She was fighting cancer, but her main focus when she was fighting cancer was to make sure that the other courageous kids who were fighting alongside her got the same kind of love and joy that she was able to get. So she, the first joy jars, which is what we hand out to the kids in the hospitals, mail out to kids across the country and the world, were just her toys that she got from her room and wanted to hand out. So that's basically what it is. You go over to the Joy Factory and you fill up these jars of toys, stick a label on it, ships off to somebody in the country to hopefully make a courageous kid's life better or day better. The other one that I work with is Athlete Ally. They work with LGBTQ athletes to try to keep them in sports, kind of work on legislation. I just think it's really important for, if you love your sport, you shouldn't be able to not be able to play it just because of your orientation.
And if people wanted to learn more about those, get involved with those, where can they go?
Team NEGU on Instagram, Athlete Ally on Instagram.
So it's Team NEGU.
Yes, a lot to say NEGU. It's NEGU. Team NEGU on Instagram and Athlete Ally, which is one word, on Instagram.
Is that ALLY?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't sure. All right. Cool. Great, Johnny. Thank you so much. Good luck this season.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Chad.